everybody, and welcome back to the Replay Booth podcast. I'm Ella.
I'm Catalina.
I'm Keiri.
I'm Asa.
And I'm Gus.
And today we're actually shaking up our traditional structure of our podcast, and we're going to have our discussion relating it back to class before we welcome our guest Lilly, who is a member of the gymnastics team at Clemson, just to help kind of have our conversation flow and see how that goes that way. But the theme this week is the commercialization of sport and the weaponization of emotion in sport. So I was wondering what you guys' opinions of that topic is this week, kind of your takeaways of it.
Yeah, so the first thing I think about with the emotion part, gymnastics is a very like team bonding sport to where my girlfriends told me when we were sitting in the audience that the whole stadium cheers for both teams. And we're seeing like hype videos and everything. As soon as the gymnast lands right after their routine, everybody just storms them. And it's like a little dog pile type thing. And I really enjoy seeing that, just like the support of everybody, but they're not really weaponizing the emotion part. It's more the support of emotion in sport. And I think that's kind of like a counter to this topic.
To add on to that too, I agree with that. I've been to a gymnastics meet myself last year, and it was really fun. And there's a lot of emotion to it for sure. All the fans get into it. There's music playing, and kind of, I mean, they all work for kind of one routine for like performance, and there's definitely a lot of emotion tied to that. And they want to do really well. And if they don't do well, obviously they're going to be disappointed because they've worked so hard and to put so many hours in for the one routine or two routines, whatever they do. But when they do well and it all pays off, you can see it in their face and you can see all the crowd getting hyped, and there's definitely a lot of emotion added to that.
Yeah, I also think there's a lot of emotion because it is the second team. I mean, last year it was the first team ever at Clemson, so I think they have they want to prove to like Clemson fans to kind of go and watch. So I think that's even a lot of emotion for them in itself, just to kind of be their best and to like show off Clemson. So
Yeah, I agree with everything y'all said, and I like how you added in that they were the first. Gymnastics, I think they're in their second season here at Clemson, and I think to add in that commercialization, oh, I can't say that word, that element into it, I think they have been exposed to the media so much to where I guess their emotion can be put at risk because, like Asa said, they are training for hours and hours and hours on end and perfecting their routines and doing their best for every meet that they have. And so, you only really get one chance at that meet, and so that emotion can come into play where, you have, again, that one shot to do your best at the thing that you've trained for so long, but also always having the media in their eyes on you because you are the first. So I'm excited to hear what Lilly has to say about that and her perspective on having that weight on the team's shoulders of being the first.
I was thinking back to, I think it was, I forget what class it was, but he was talking about the Super Bowl and how I just remember it was this one video. I forget who it was. It was a Kansas City Chiefs player, and he was on his hands and knees crying because they were losing the NFL, and it's like their character break or something like that. And like going back to like the emotional exploitation, I think that people promoting games have also seen that like those kind of clips, kind of like when someone is at their emotional like plateau, like they feel the lowest of the low, like they exploit it because it gets them more views, more clicks, more interaction on social media. And also like when you see people win, like big wins, unsuspected wins, Hail Marys, that also like I can see why the emotion has also added in like the recent years, especially with more things like TikTok, Instagram, stuff like that.
Yeah, going off of the Chiefs video and everything, I saw some behind the scenes clips where like some players were mic'd up on the bench, referring to themselves as like the Patriots against the Falcons. Like, oh, they did it in one half, 28-3. We're down by 25-2. And if they can do it, we can. It didn't, unlike the Falcons, but well, unlike the Patriots. Um, so there is that counter. Not everything always works out. And with the gymnastics team being in their second season, they're still fresh and everything. They've only experienced one ACC tournament Unfortunately, like with NC State winning, but we're back, we're better, we're working towards everything, and that's the emotion because you want to work better, you want to do better, you want to strive for greatness.
And if I could just add real quick, like the whole exploitation thing, gymnastics is like known along with cheerleading for being like you have to look perfect. You have to have a certain body type. You have to know your landing, and there's really no room for, I guess, mistakes or messing up. And so, yeah, again, that can go back to there's really no room, I think, for them to show emotion rather than, you have a whole team of almost 200 guys where you won't even notice if someone is off to the side crying. But when you have that, you can't really show your emotion because all eyes are on you. So I like how you brought that up.
Yeah, and to add on to that too, I mean, when I'm watching the crowd, watching the gymnastics team, I think they have like a perfect routine, but the critique is just like so crazy from the judges that they understand what they did wrong, but from my eye or from all the fans' eyes, it seems like they're doing a great job, but in reality, they don't think they are, and the judges sometimes don't think they are either. But yeah, it's just crazy because they have to put on a certain persona and face throughout the whole competition, even if they don't think they're doing well, and that just kind of ties into the emotion part as well.
I also think like their emotions, like I know like for pro sports, not college, they're kind of used like to make their name bigger, especially like kind of showing that they're human too. And so I mean we could talk about like NIL deals and that. So like what do you guys think about like NIL deals and how athletes handle that?
Yeah, I feel like NIL has kind of like changed the game for college sports in general. All athletes are kind of using their platform on social media to kind of promote themselves and their brand and make companies want to sign deals with them so they get money or free stuff. And it's kind of become like a pay to play kind of thing too. Like some schools are doing contracts with their players, and they get paid to basically play, and you're getting free scholarship as well for most people in sports, and it's kind of crazy. And people with it, that adds on to the transfer portal as well. People want more money, so they go into the transfer portal, try to find another spot that offers more money, and it's kind of just become a whole crazy thing in the college world these days.
Yeah, it's crazy how college NIL has really like blown up in the past few years. Because like I see like sponsored reels on Instagram. It's like, oh, be a brand ambassador for this golf company. I'm like, okay, sure. I do it. But then I'm driving down the road and I see a billboard that has a Clemson offensive lineman player for an insurance company, and I'm like, well, damn. Like, imagine doing that. So it's just the small things that just how big time things are now. Because the lineman could be a year younger than me because I'm a junior. And like I'm like, oh, I'm doing great. I'm in sports communication. Dudes aren't going like pro bound. It's just insane at how fast things have blown up compared to just a few years ago.
Yeah, I remember going to like, I don't know if you guys ever did this, but you would go to a preseason event and you could get posters signed and stuff like that, and how they had to be so like careful about it. And now it's like you see players driving like hundreds of, I don't know, like hundreds of thousands of dollars of cars, like come into class in crazy clothes. Like it's just when they did the NIL, it just like changed not only like football, because I feel like that's the most like one you can see the most because that's the one we pay most attention to, especially like at Clemson, South Carolina, like the South. But you can just see how crazy, like it just it takes me out personally, like walking down the hall and see somebody like in a whole kind of outfit or something, or like the necklaces, the chains, like it's just so different than it was even five.
Yeah, I mean like I'm like walking and I just see like weird color cars and just like really weird clothes and I'm just like, I don't know if I would do that with that money, but I mean, good for them. But I don't know. It's just like weird, like how much, because my dad played soccer in college. So like he didn't have any of this. It was just very like you go there, you get the job done, and then, you keep going and you do academics. But now it's just kind of like it comes with your talent. It's like a whole nother like level of like how your persona is on the outside.
Yeah, it's funny you guys say that. One of my teammates has a purple Corvette, which is kind of funny to see him driving around. But yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone just uses their money in different ways, and when people have it, especially at this age, they might not do like the best things with it, but it's just fun to see. I mean, all the athletes work so hard and I think are deserving of money. I mean, they put in so many hours, so to get rewarded for it is always good. But yeah, it's funny to see different athletes how they use their money and what they buy with it. So it's good.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, like I think NIL is great, especially considering that these student athletes are literally putting in like their blood, sweat, tears, all of their time into perfecting what they do on top of having academic stress and struggles and assignments and everything like that. But one thing that I wanted to like touch on was like the balance between like knowing, like you said, what to do with your money and knowing like where to draw the line between, okay, should I do this for my sport or am I doing it kind of like for myself? Because I feel like, I don't know how to put it. Like, I've listened to so many different podcasts with like Clemson football players, and like their main thing is like their main advice to recruits coming in is to not go where the money is, but to go where a program will develop you as an athlete and as a person. And I think that nowadays, with NIL being so big, and you have like big brands like Nike and Adidas and Lululemon who are sponsoring you and giving you like thousands to millions of dollars to just like put your face on a post on Instagram, it's like, okay, do I want to go this route to where I can get all this money, or do I want to go to a place where I know that I can potentially go pro? And so I think there definitely needs to be like more discussion of a balance between like, am I going to this place so that I can be better and be great, or am I going here because this is where I can get the money?
Yeah, to add on to that, I feel like it's tough because when you're a high school recruit coming out of high school and you see a school is offering you however, $100,000, $1 million, it's a lot of money in your mind, and you want to go to that school because you want that money. But at the same time, I think finding a balance of the school that's going to help you get to the pro level, which could ultimately make you more money, is kind of more valuable in my eyes. But it's obviously, I mean, kids are so young and they want what's right in front of them at that time, so it's tough to make a decision. And who knows if the other route's not going to work out. So it is really a hard balance to find, but that's a good point for sure.
I think that's like, obviously I've never been in that position, and I couldn't imagine being 18 trying to like, or younger because you get recruited younger doing that. But that's why I'm like really excited to talk to Lily and kind of see how she navigated that, and then also kind of her story, how she's dealt with that kind of stuff. And I Hey guys, and welcome back to the show. You'll notice that we are missing one of our group members, and Asa is currently preparing for the ACC tournament and could not be with us today, but we are cheering him on and so excited to see the Tigers play next week.
Today, we are so excited to host Lilly Lippeatt on this week's episode of the Replay Booth podcast. Lilly is a redshirt sophomore with Clemson Gymnastics and part of the inaugural gymnastics team. During her time representing the Tigers, Lilly earned the first 9.900 in program history on uneven bars against William and Mary, tallied a career best 9.900 on the uneven bars on three separate occasions, which are William and Mary, NC State, and the ACC championships, and has been named All-ACC championship team as well as ACC Newcomer of the Week. In 2019 and 2020, she placed third on the beam and earned gold with Team USA. We are so excited to welcome Lilly to our show and cannot wait to get to know her better.
So, hi, Lily, and welcome. And before we start today, we just want to say a huge thank you for joining us and taking time out of your schedule to just talk to us today about your journey and your career here at Clemson. So, Ella, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So I was just wondering, how was it like to bring a brand new sport to Clemson and kind of have to start the culture from ground one? Like, how were you welcomed into the Clemson family with like students, faculty, and alumni fans?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually the first and only freshman coming onto the team. And
it was so exciting to be able to start a new program, to start with the culture because there's so many possibilities of creating a legacy for the next however many years of Clemson gymnastics that we have to come. And then in terms of like support staff, coaches, all of athletics, they were beyond excited. And they knew that gymnastics was a powerhouse sport in a lot of other colleges that had them. So they were super excited for just the family atmosphere that gymnastics brings and also just the high level excellence that gymnastics could bring to Clemson, already being a powerhouse sport. So it was so exciting just to like see all the support and see people throwing in resources to be able to build that culture and then knowing how much of an impact it could have.
That is so cool, honestly. I could not imagine being like the first on a team. I'd be so nervous. But since like you're new from last year, so you probably know how the NIL is like increasing all over the place and they have a major role in college athletics. How have you like approached developing like your personal brand? And then do you feel any pressure in any particular way during it?
I will definitely say that it has changed the game of sports, just in the way that people approach college athletics and how many opportunities you have to not only just monetize on yourself, but create your own brand and market yourself. So my approach to it is I honestly came to college knowing that my education was the most important, and then also gymnastics. I just really wanted to focus on that. And it wasn't a huge priority to me for NIL. However, I wanted to monopolize it on it the best that I could with the resources I had. So, kind of my first step was to actually get a marketing agent and working with them, being able to say, like, hey, like, I would love ideas. However, I trust you guys to kind of put these forward so that I can create my name and brand. So they've been super helpful with that because being a college athlete is so chaotic. It's so stressful. And that on top of it is just another thing that is way outside of the scope of my knowledge. So definitely being able to delegate and trust other individuals who make this like their passion is a huge, like, it was such a helpful step for me because I trust the people that are helping me, and it's been very successful so far.
So, outside of being a gymnast and an athlete, you are just a regular person and a student just like us. So, how do you go about balancing your training and your overall commitment to gymnastics with your academics and your personal life?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say the biggest thing is I have to stay super disciplined in keeping a schedule. It's really important to me that um, I am able to have like a holistic college experience. So, as much as gymnastics and academics are number one priority, those fit in the schedule as much like that comes first. I love to explore different clubs, different organizations, being able to just get involved in the other side. And a lot of times it takes like honestly a leap of faith, like just being in an uncomfortable position, much like even the sport itself. But I think setting it as a priority that I was more than a student athlete. That was kind of what came at the forefront, but I also wanted to explore different avenues being in college and this being honestly my best opportunity in life to do that, to have the freedom to do that. And I think making being super disciplined with my schedule gave me more freedom in itself to be able to do that. But yes, it's definitely that is definitely probably the toughest challenge of being a student athlete.
I'm gonna piggyback off of Keiri's question, and obviously you're a student just like we are, but do you ever get recognized around campus? And what's like the most memorable interaction that you've had with a fan?
Um, I have gotten recognized a few times. I had a professor find out that I had a Wikipedia page literally the other week, and I will say that was probably the most like what is going on moment. However, honestly, it's just really cool when people do recognize me and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like you were so cool like at the meet." And just honestly being able to like create a friendship around that and not necessarily just be like, "Oh, that's cool," but like goodbye, like see you later. But being able to with gymnastics, it's such like a interactive sport. Like there's the fan experience with it and being able to connect with that. And honestly, I just love it. I think more than people recognizing me on campus is when I recognize people in the audience and just seeing like students or seeing people I know or seeing them afterwards. I think that is my favorite part of it.
So kind of going off that again, like, is there a standout moment in your Clemson career that, like, like pointing somebody, seeing somebody in the audience and recognizing them, or like routine, something like that, that you just will always remember?
Honestly, I think just seeing like my best friends in the audience, like seeing people that, um, seeing like my group of people, because you always like you create that and seeing them and like they're from all different avenues of my college experience and seeing that is just kind of like a marker of like I have been able to immerse myself in so many different experiences and ultimately just being like there when there's a sold out like crowd and thinking my friends are like in the front row like they showed up an hour early to be there like they put in so much effort to just be there and being able to like compete for them along with all of the Clemson community is definitely a highlight moment for me.
Now kind of like shifting gears. So obviously gymnastics is like intense and I guess has a lot of pressure. So how do you use that pressure, and how do you shape that to how you handle pressure in actual like other life situations?
Yeah, for sure. Gymnastics has taught me honestly so much mental toughness and it I've learned like being constantly in pressure situations, having the adrenaline run on a Friday night in Little John, and then being able to like recognize those feelings, those thoughts, what behaviors are, and like what in the gym and what in a meet like helps me calm down. And like sometimes for me, like one of those things is like honestly just finding little moments of silence. Like when it's very loud, like finding the moments of silence, just like kind of sit and kind of just rest a little bit. And I've been able to take that into stressful situations in life. Like for instance, an exam. Like if I've got multiple exams, like making sure I learn from the experiences of gymnastics and prioritize like getting little moments of rest and silence before all the crazy adrenaline happens. But I will say it has been very useful to be able to apply a lot of the things in gymnastics, such as like the discipline and the schedule, to also academics as well as like starting internships and then going into like the career industry.
So, kind of bouncing off that emotional side, what is going through your mind during your meets? Is it all like silence? Do you ever get distracted by all of the craziness that's going on in Little John? Like, how do you stay disciplined, like in that mindset to do what you need to do?
It takes so much practice. I will say that the first time I got into Little John, with Team USA, I competed in arenas that large, but never that full. So everybody like being loud and crazy and all the exciting things. And then just thinking in my head, like, I've got to compete in front of this. So lots of distractions into me. I mean, there's been many times where I have had assignments due at midnight and I'm like, I have to do a bar routine. So it takes a lot of I think just natural discipline outside the gym of like I'm going to think about like one thing and I'm going to take steps day by day and then that kind of overflows into a meet of like I'm going to take it day by day. And it's cool the structure of gymnastics just being 4 events. So I compete 3 of them. So like you can structure and almost break down a meet of like this is my first event, this is my second event. It's very sequential. So that does help if you like try to rationalize things. And sometimes too, there's so many distractions that it's just kind of all blur. That helps as well. Like you're just kind of, whoa, it's just really loud. And that kind of helps dial into like what are the thoughts that are helpful to me and what's the behavior that's going to be helpful to me in this chaos of Little John.
Can you describe the feeling of sticking the landing and just your teammates and coaches come running towards you just to celebrate and just make a mosh pit?
There is literally nothing like it. It is so exciting just because you're in the routine. I remember like my bar routine 2 weeks ago. I remember feeling like I was in the routine and I was about to do the dismount. And the whole time I'm thinking like, how cool would it be if I stuck the dismount and everyone goes crazy? Like this would be so cool. And then like that's what you're constantly thinking about. And then when you get it, it's like the not necessarily the memories, but like you start to remember like all of the times that you worked on that in the gym, like all of the times that you put in the work and you just sit there and it's like silence until all of a sudden like an eruption of like so much excitement into when you stick a dismount and you turn, you look at the judges, and then all of a sudden you look at your teammates, and it's like you look at the people that you work so hard like with like right beside you, and they're the ones that get to celebrate with you. Um, I think that part is so cool. And then just joy, like whatever celebration comes out of that, there's nothing planned. It's just excitement.
So, as a pioneer of Clemson gymnastics, where do you envision the program in the next like 5 years or so? Like, what in your ideal future, like, what would you love to see the program do?
I think there's different aspects of what you could look at for success for the program. I think internally with the culture, like the culture that we have built on this team has been so intentional. And I'd love to see that continue of just like building, like mentoring freshmen, like upperclassmen mentoring underclassmen and like continuing that. Then also like there's a huge priority of academics on our team with gymnastics is not necessarily like a huge like pro sport. Like you can go to the Olympics. However, that doesn't it's not like the NFL or the MLB where there is the sport that you could do after college. So academics and just basically like postgraduate success is really important. So I think in that avenue, prioritizing that and keeping that growing the same way that we have. I think in performance wise, definitely an ACC championship. I mean, that's kind of has been the goal since day one. And with all of the resources that Clemson's poured into us, like we just have to stay on this course and it will inevitably happen. And making sure that we're working towards that and we're honestly, we're just continuing to build the culture and the legacy that we have because it's been a fantastic experience and by no means has it been perfect, but you learn the most in those moments where you can grow. So,
So I've always wanted to ask, like I always ask like athletes this, what is like your day in the life routine look like before an actual meet? Because I'm always over TikTok and I always stalk everybody because I'm like, what actually do they go through and like what's something is special that they do every single time?
so for me, I'm a person who runs off so much adrenaline. Like 2 minutes before like I compete, my heart rate's up. And it doesn't take a long time for me to get where I need to be in terms of the adrenaline. So I have to treat like my Friday as normal as possible. Like this semester, I don't have classes on Friday, but last year I had 3 classes on Friday. So I would wake up, I would have homework to do. I would go to class until 12, and then I would get ready as quickly as possible. Like sometimes I would have an exam. So sometimes it's just like normal day. And then you get ready. Obviously, there's a lot with gymnastics. It's a full performance in terms of getting ready. There was a few times I did show up to class with my full hair and makeup. That was an interesting look for professors, but um, then we typically will have like a pregame lunch that normally happens about midday. And then there is a lot that goes into a meet in terms of our meet starts at 7. We're probably there at 2. So there's warm up for 2 hours beforehand. And then before that, you have a team meeting, you have rehab that you'll do to get ready, all different sorts of things that go in before the meet. And then before anyone really opens the doors. But the biggest thing that I don't really have any superstitions, I don't have any practices that I feel like I need to do, but I like to treat the day as normal as possible and keep myself busy until report time.
So keeping it kind of lighthearted, I love the music for your floor routine this year. It's so like notable in the Clemson community. So like I just love how hype people get for it. So do you notice a difference specifically for that routine when you do it at home and how like much support you get for that versus away when you kind of like are, the away opponent?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just in general, Little John is such a different atmosphere than any other ACC opponent. We by far have the highest attendance, and that has just been such a cool thing. But with my routine being like the Go Tigers, I actually say it as I look at the student section and that right before my first pass, and that is literally so cool. Like to just have that interaction between fans and sport that you don't get in any other sport. And just hearing like the crowd erupt and like do it with me it's so cool.
Do you ever just find yourself standing in Little John before just like standing on the floor maybe and just looking around in a circle, just soaking it all in. It's like I really made it to Clemson gymnastics.
Yeah, I think I sit in like a presence of just like gratitude in Little John. It's so chaotic, but there's a little bit of quietness in it to just sit there and see like how many different walks of life have come to Little John to see gymnastics and to see the sport grow and to come from my first day on campus in a Clemson gymnastics sweatshirt and people were like, we have a gymnastics team, to people lining up for tickets and selling out and people getting excited to go. Um, there's just so much gratitude behind it. Yeah.
Well, Lily, we just want to thank you so, so, so much for coming on and talking to us today. We wish you and the rest of the team the best of luck this Friday at your meet and then for the rest of the season. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Thank
having me.
you.
Thank you.
So we just want to thank Lily once again for coming to the show. I'm obsessed with her. She's so cool.
He's amazing.
But also, we cannot wait to see you guys for the next episode, next and final episode of the Replay Booth podcast. So until next time, bye y'all.
Bye.